Video or not?
I believe the video's going.
Okay.
I don't know if it's starting to go.
Yeah. All right, let's call the meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. Do we need to approve the meeting minutes from October 20th? Has a chance to review them.
Yeah, but we put a couple of selections. I asked Charlie add Jay Sumlin, and he had the wrong German time.
Yeah,
Initially,
extra hour.
an extra hour. So,
Yeah, accept the whole. I got a motion to accept the October 20 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I'll sign a copy here. I'm trying to fix them.
I know. That was funny, you know, it's like that.
Yeah. All right, so Charlie, you want to run us through the
Yeah, sure. So,
tax classification slides?
yeah, so basically, what we're really doing here, thank you. You know, we have to do the typical thing that we've been doing for years, which is take a look at the tax classification. And that's going to basically be on the third page. And obviously we have the override. And, you know, if you were interested in kind of what the override is doing, I did put like the levy limit in here and all that too. So everything that you see includes it's 8,800,000, and there's another 700,000 in addition to that. So that's just the way it was voted on and gone in. So what you're really seeing up here are the adjustments that we need to make. So in this case here, you'll see in the past down in the history of the tax rates, we've been at 149, 156, 156, 115, and we came in where the highest that we can shift is a 1.5. So that would be the first column, which would then be a 0.9771 for residential. So that would be the kind of the most we can do for the residential side. And then I gave you two other options, and then there's the single tax rate. You could see that you know, there'd be a difference in the commercial if we did a single tax rate. It seems to me that the best option would be option one, just because that's going to give the most relief to residential side without really, you know, beating up the commercials. But that would be the best we can do for adjustments on the residential side.
What changes for the residential in the three options? They don't at the same rate.
It's mostly rounding. So you know, so you'd have an 11.9, you'd have a, you know, like 11.99 or whatever, but these spreadsheets kind of round it down.
So it's minimally different.
Yeah, and if you look at the factor, it's basically 0.9771, 72, and 73. I will be honest, I didn't really spread it out and give you large chunks of different ones because, you know, I think the way the budget's going to work in the town, you know, they'd like to get the 0.9771, and that would, you know, still be fair to the commercials, because commercials didn't go up as much as the residentials did, and so if their tax rate goes up a bit more, it'll kind of even things out. So
In the sense that residential property values went up and commercial did.
yeah, commercial went up about 4%, and residentials went up about 5%.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it would kind of even out a case like that. So.
But the average tax change is 11.9% for a single family and 10.6% for average commercial.
Yes, if we chose option one.
Yeah, so that's sort of keeping it.
Slightly even in a sense, because it's not like it's a big difference.
Well,
I feel like this is the tightest all these options have been in several years.
Right.
They've all been, typically there's quite a gap between all three of them.
Yeah, and most of the time, you can see when we go to like 1.56, there's two options, is either a 1.5 or 1.75. And it has to do with how the values relate to each other. We often have the 1.75 adjustment, but we don't use it that way. We use it like we'll do 1.56 or 1.52 or 1.55. But this year it came out to a 1.5 is the most we can adjust. And it's also the lowest we could do for the residential factor, so.
why was it the lowest you can do?
So the Department of Revenue has kind of a site that we put all the information into. And, you know, again, it's just doing the relationships between all of the values and saying, you know, is it going to be fair to allow you to adjust it to 1.75, or are we going to keep you tighter at 1.5?
So they lay down the.
Yeah, it's a lot of state oversight, but you know, keeps it tight too. So
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure.
They want to make it uniform too for all of your municipalities.
yeah, I mean, if you have the 1.75 and you decide to use it, you know, it would be a big adjustment, but it wouldn't be fair.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you see right here, Bob, this is where the fiscal 26 new values are. And then just above there would be the old value. So, you know, we pretty much went from, you know, 1,028,487 to 1,081,191 for the average difference. So they went up about 5%, and then commercials went up about, it looks like 3.3%. And that's really the difference, where if you chose option one, it's kind of even it out a bit.
Right, pulling up like 35 to 40,000
Yeah,
and residential of about 50. So
right.
difference. A lot more residential properties.
Yeah. And last year, I think we were residential went up only about 2%, but most of the time it was because the sales were getting improved and sold.
Yeah.
So that kind of didn't allow everyone to raise up with the boats or with the tide. Did you want me to touch on any of the other pieces in here?
By the other, the residential exemption and the small.
Or even just any of these other pieces with the questions or anything?
Curious about the average single family tax bill right after that. So
Yeah.
18 to 26, it's 9.
It's about 11.9% tax bill increase. So it's actually on the second to last paragraph on the page right here. So basically, you know, that's two things. That would be the tax rate change and the revaluation change. So, you know, if you think of a tax rate went up about 7%, reval went up about 5%. So that's where you get the 11.9% of the residential. And, you know, the way to keep it down somewhat is to go with the option one. And then, you know, again, you'll see that the residential, the commercial went 1694 to 1813. And so again, that's about a 10.6% increase. So that's both the increase of the tax rate, but also the revaluation as well, so.
So the increase in the average single family tax bill is the greatest 1 year increase in the last 9 years.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So going up by over $1,300. And you say 700 is related to the override on it now?
It's just broken up into two parts. So if you went to the levy limit, which is like, I think I have that in here. So you see the maximum levy right here. And in the maximum levy, you'll see fiscal override, 8,800,000. But then I guess even the way it was worded for during the vote, there was also another $700,000 that was put into the stabilization fund. So it's still, 9.5 billion, but it's just broken up into two areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty substantially extending the number of elderly in the community and retired people.
Yeah.
Challenging on fixed income.
They are going to start trying to work on some of that, and same with veterans as well. I think we talked about the HERO Act last year. With the override, it didn't get through, but then also doing something for the elderly as well. So,
Well, they did do that means-based.
yes.
They did pass the town meeting, so
Yeah.
they've done something already. They can expand on it, that's the thing.
I think they just have to vote it in, and then would be, get it moving. So,
Yeah, best town meeting.
yeah,
That's not me.
Yeah, there's the chart with
yes,
so you tell me.
yeah.
Okay.
Brian, you had asked about the tax rate there. I did put a piece in about shifting the tax rate, but it's about 3 pages long. Yeah, but there is
Shifting the tax rate.
just even the way we do it. So why do you get the 1.5 versus the 1.75? So,
What does this tell it? Tax levy as percent of budget compared to peer communities, we're the highest in terms of 85%.
yeah, so that really just means the levy itself. So other people might raise money. So we typically have the amount that needs to be raised. Then we have the amount that's raised by the town, just for all the fees that get charged, et cetera, et cetera. And then the rest is just the levy to make up for, you have to obviously fund 100% in that case.
Does that mean we have lower fees than other communities if we're
It possibly could, and with less commercial and things like that, that can make a difference as well. Yeah, so these are ones where I basically have to go into the ELS database and pull that information out. I don't think it really reflects anything on Milton. It's just that, the tax levy itself, it's almost like people pay one way or another, whether it's fines and, things like that. So,
What's that getting us? This slide.
not a lot. Got it?
So some of these might,
Yeah, the page down.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that. So yeah, maybe we can take a look at it and see what we wanted, because this package all goes to the select.
Yes, it will. Yeah, exactly. And then you do see like a residential versus commercial industrial right after that. And obviously Milton's down at the 4.1 and not really close to anyone else in there. So, and those are the people that do pay the fees and things like that, you know, depending on what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's out of our, all we do is assess it, it's out of our control. I'd keep that because that's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's useful, right?
it's useful to remember.
Yeah. Because it's just a description of the residential exemption, and how it actually isn't all that terrific. You know, if you say we're going to exempt everyone that's a homeowner, it only really means the people below the average, you know, amount get a break. And it doesn't have anything to do with what people make or anything like that. And the ones that are above it wouldn't get the exemption. So, you know.
I think we're in line with a lot of other towns as well that don't do exceptions.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's not a lot.
It doesn't Boston do one?
They
They do. So typically, like Boston, Cambridge, I do have it listed here.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I think you're missing a couple though. I think, and also it's,
I did look it up the other day and it was less than the work, but it's mostly places that people come in and rent. You know, they want to then say, okay, well, let's give people that own and live there.
or it's second houses.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Cape Cod or whatever, same type of thing. So, but I just looked it up the other day and there were less for whatever reason. So,
It didn't get away from it.
yeah.
I mean, if people started making their primary residence on the Cape or in Egerton or whatever, so they might be like,
Yeah, well, there's the whole thing now too about Verbo and all that, you know, where they can rent their house out and how often do they do it and all that. But I think those all voted positively that, you know, they didn't want to hold back on any of that. But
Rhode Island just passed a law that's the opposite of that. If you own a second home, they're charging you higher tax. Even though you don't use any of the services or anything, most of the services, you don't use the schools or anything like that, their tax rate is different if it's a second property.
Wow, I actually did a bunch of towns down in Rhode Island over 30, 40 years, whatever it's been now.
Yeah, it just passed, I think, in the spring or
so
something.
you're not using the schools.
Yeah, yeah.
And they said it's really going to affect people that have high-end homes, like a Taylor Swift or
Yeah, the people that can afford to pay.
yeah.
You know,
There's an heir of Budweiser that's down in Westerly that has a big house, and I think Bill and Hillary Clinton have a house in Westerly.
yeah.
They're all second or third homes, and they're going to have to pay more taxes the way they designed this law.
They have some nice places that, you know, like Narragansett, again, is a, you know, nice area with the,
spots.
you know, beaches and everything else there. Just people think of the Cape instead of.
But it's the reverse of what you do here. They're kind of penalizing the people for having that second home, which doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right, right.
Well, it seems the cash balance.
Well, I think that's what it is, yeah. Especially because there was a lot of big houses in Westerly and Newport.
Right, right.
Block Avenue is as big as Martha's Vineyard on Nantucket, but it's
Right.
Still some nice houses.
it's still some nice houses down there.
Yeah, the company I work for, Vision, we give all those places.
Now, did our overlay change? I looked at that earlier today, and we talked a little bit about it, you, Charlie, but yes, I see it was 2.4 million right now.
Yeah, so, you know, there was no money taken. We didn't give back this year.
Yeah,
And so,
so there's an increase in it.
yeah, but there is an amount in the overlay that goes back here, you know, into our overlay. I think it was like 380,000 or something like that.
Sort of bumped it up.
Yeah, and that's also kind of an adjustment number because 395 actually.
It's at the last page.
It's the like third to the last page. Fourth to the last page.
There was a separate sheet in the email.
Yeah, it's right here. 395, 226, 55. But there, there's also the overlay transferred to overlay surplus at, after July 1st, and that's a zero. So there was no payments back to the town.
So our overlay balance that was,
2.4.
but we don't know what our liability against that is.
Yeah, it's down number 11. It's still Unquity and Winter Valley are the only ones so far that are still out there. They were
Step 2.
yeah, they're asking, for the written minutes and all that kind of stuff. So there's a potential expectation that they'll still push for it. But that number is just 292, 315. So we'll see what we see once the tax bills go out and people get them around January.
So that could be potentially something that could be released.
Yeah.
If that goes in our favor, which it should.
Right.
What's been a little more clear on that this year, I think we have been in the past.
Yes, yeah.
With the way things have been, with all that extra stuff that was hanging around here, that just was ridiculous.
Right. All the years that weren't
That weren't cleared up, yeah, well, they couldn't, I think when we met with Joanna, the software had changed and they couldn't track any of that stuff back in.
right.
That was on the books for 2008, 2009, it was, they had no idea what it was, so it's like, what are we hanging on to? Well, that's when we got rid of all that stuff.
And they just upgraded software this year. And we obviously upgraded camera as well this year. So, a lot of new software, but, I worked for Patriot for 6 years, so I was comfortable with the software. So,
Well, I think we have a better grasp on it now than we did because of all those conflicting numbers and everything.
Right.
Yeah,
Cleans up.
yeah. Right.
You do have some date, the date is November 2026 here.
oh, is this what that is the year? Then what year it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we're in fiscal 26.
Yeah,
And I've been doing that.
I know.
I kind of tried to rush this since we had a
Yeah. And
quick meeting.
the recommendation now is FY 26, so
Okay.
that's a. So. Right, so we could. Putting together a motion for this.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Motion to approve the tax rate for fiscal year 26 is that?
Yeah. Do we need to call it out as a 1.5?
I think you have to do what he's got on that. Yeah, I think you got it. That's what we're voting on.
So the board of trustees recommends the following FY 26. The town of Milton will adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.9771, not adopt a residential exemption and not adopt a small commercial exemption.
Yeah.
I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Or did you make the motion? You can second.
I did kind of put Bob up there, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he made
You made the motion,
yeah.
you to,
Yeah.
Bill second. It was unanimous. Yeah, and when do you want to get this packet to the?
What I typically do is give it to Nick and then Nick gets it to them. Whenever.
Yeah, but when are you gonna get to Nick?
He didn't ask yet, and I would think I got at least another week or so.
Okay, all right, let's sit down and go over and look at some of these, just what's in the package.
What's useful.
And I think some of the stuff is just,
That's like a graph. I mean,
yeah, I just think, I mean, we carry a lot of stuff over and sometimes somebody else might have thought it was good to explain it and
Yeah,
we now look at it 7 or 8 years later.
right.
That might have extended.
yeah, there's that page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
just,
one,
but plus it takes a while to just look it all up because you gotta go into the DLS and then you have the table.
was it this one here? Tax levy is the budget?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did make a few notes on that.
yeah.
So,
I just think, let's just, just give them, concise information so they can follow along. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think we are gonna have, you're gonna have 3 new members on the board, so.
yes, right, so that
Because we just first master city.
yeah. So that's really all I had for you. I did just put in an item discussion on anything else you might want to talk about and
Did you hear anything back concerning the
solar panels.
solar?
Yes, spoke to the DOR, Jim Crowley, who said the DOR doesn't want it. So
Doesn't what one?
they're not involved, they never requested it.
So this,
So it's probably a NWO.
But you said that there was a 20-year
Exemption.
on residential.
but it wasn't the DOR, it was the division of.
MAAO is the one that sent it out.
Yeah, but they were at the recommendation of who? It was the division of small
It might have been Division of Local Services.
local services,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
who did it. So it wasn't the DOR. So there's.
They're kind of similar though, yeah. But I'm gonna call the head of MAAO just to find out why they're even asking for it.
Yeah, because that doesn't sound like it's anything we have to do.
Yeah,
Because what I think it does is it opens a can of worms. If you don't own them.
yeah, I think KPMG filed 351 abatement requests, but then they took them back when they realized what happened. So that's probably what they're trying to avoid, but.
And I did ask, so after we had a meeting last time, I did ask my friend who's on the board in Sandwich about it. And he said the same thing we all said. It was the first they'd heard of it. He didn't know why they were doing it because they weren't taxed anyways. And he also said that, like we did, he didn't know of any municipality that taxed them.
Right,
So there was none on that he knew of on the Cape that did it. So I don't quite know exactly what the whole purpose of this was. It seems like
yeah. But I know the woman that's head of MAAO, so I'll just give her a call and kind of ask why they're even doing it. So,
I don't think it's any way to deal with.
Yeah. Maybe they needed something to do.
Because again, in 20 years, they're not going to be worth any anyways.
yeah, they'll never make
If you put them on 5 years ago, they're not worth anything now. Because there's a lot of new stuff out there.
Exactly, right.
You know, I mean, eventually they're going to be so small, and you'll be in the shingles at some point.
Yeah, exactly,
They'll
right.
be in the shingles. So.
Okay. Any closing remarks, John?
Outside of the fact that, obviously values look like they're gonna continue to increase. We are in an interesting spot with our tax rates because it's really the result of, not really the revaluation, but the override. Otherwise, we probably would have tried to get back into our old habit of going up 3-4% or something on the tax rate. So we'll be dealing with that, and I'm sure people will be a little more interested in their values.
Yeah.
They're all listening.
Yeah,
I think I was asking Curtis how building permits, how they looked versus last year, the amount of building permits. Did he tell you or did
he felt pretty good about it. I think this past year, though, was higher than we expected.
strong?
Yeah, and because I think the town probably estimated about $1 million in their budget, and it was a good amount more. I think the ice house being finished and literally coming in right at the end of the year and, putting in their, condo, docs. That was a pretty large, influx right there, so. And we'll have more coming, so.
And I think if interest rates continue to go down, we've had 2 decreases already, I think moving into next year, you might see a move out with work. We'll probably have more people that will be renovating, doing additions, things like that, because the interest rates will be a little bit lower and they'll be able to afford a little bit more. So I've seen an uptick on my end, even just on the residential side. And yeah, commercial too, actually, we're pretty busy, but the residential is going up quite a bit.
Just a lot of uncertainty with AI taking people's jobs, and companies having record earnings and laying people off. So it's making its way through the general economy.
But it really is, if you look at it, like I've tried a couple of times with work because we just did that new system, and it really is, it all depends what's put into it.
It's gonna be like a very precise process. It's not.
There's gonna be a lot of data put into it, because if not, it just kind of spits out what you put into it. I've tried it a couple of times with some specific stuff and it's been good, but other times I've been kind of vague and it just kind of spits out what I put in.
People will get better at it, and technology.
Kind of like Wikipedia.
We're in the early stages. Yeah.
It still does have its sources, it's not thinking about these answers on its own, so.
Yeah.
That's it for me though, so,
Or any new business or any
Okay.
a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Second.
Unanimous.
that's 6:40.
Thanks, Charles.
Okay, thanks everyone.